here. So what we are going to do is I will take you through the 9 amendments and what does it mean. First of all, we will go through those amendments and followed by a question and answer time. If you have further questions in the chat box, you can put. I hope that some of us will be able to pick it up, and probably whether Vijay can moderate that and ask some specific questions if these are coming in the chat box. Many of your questions will be covered in the presentation itself. So let us go into the presentation straight away so that we are able to understand what is this amendment all about. Okay, so overview of the amendments made by this Foreign Contribution Regulation Amendment Act. Now it has become an act from 29th of September. Now there are 9 amendments, and each of them we are going to look at specifically. The first one is that inter-charity donation prohibited from FC funds, which means subgranting. Subgranting is not possible now. Administrative expenditure has been reduced. That is the second amendment that we are going to look at. Public servant debarred from receiving foreign contribution. That is the third amendment. Fourth is FCRA bank account to be opened with the State Bank of India, New Delhi. A specific branch has been now designated. Inquiry at the time of renewal of FCRA. See, the first inter-charity donation, then reduction in administrative expenditure, and the number 4, FCRA bank account. These has received a lot of attention from us. But then there are others, and in the 6th amendment, they are also critical. For example, this inquiry at the time of renewal of FCRA is a very critical amendment. We'll look at that. Aadhaar card of board members and copy of passport or OCI card is another amendment which has come. Suspension like provisions for prior permission. Those who have prior permission, there is a clause added which we will be also looking at. Extending the suspension period is the 8th amendment, and the 9th one is surrender of FCRA registration. So these are the 9 amendments which have come. We'll go one by one each amendment, and I will not take long so that we'll have more time for discussion. Okay, the first one is about inter-charity donations from is prohibited from FC funds. Now, what is the existing provision? Existing provision is that once you receive FCRA, the law allowed that you could transfer it to another FC registered organization into their designated bank account, or you could even apply for permission from the FCRA department to transfer to a non-FCRA NGO also, organization also. So if the FCRA department permitted, then you could even transfer to those organizations who did not have FCRA. So this was the original provision that you could transfer, and in turn, these FCRA registered organizations to whom you have transferred the money, they could report also to the ministry in their annual return. Now the amendment says that once the money lands in India into the bank account of the organization, it cannot be subgranted to another organization, even if they have FCRA. Which means that once the money comes into your bank account, end utilization has to happen in your bank account only. It cannot be transferred. For example, when there are network organizations or mother bank accounts where you receive mother organization and then you transfer to other organization, that is now completely prohibited. Now, what will it imply is that it will impact such kind of arrangements, and you cannot transfer. Everything has to be utilized in your bank account, in your organization itself. Now the problem is also that there is no transition period. So the moment this has been enacted, which is 29th of September, it becomes effective. So what happens to those which have open contracts with other NGOs? So those kind of challenges, or halfway projects, those kind of challenges are there, and we are receiving a lot of questions on these issues. Then this will also have its impact under income tax, where mother NGO after receiving grant are waiting for onward distribution as per program cycle. Some of them have received the money as mother NGOs, and they have not been able to transfer it out. For example, there is a large organization in Delhi, national level organization, I would not name it, but a secular organization, who called me up the other day and said, we have got 20 crores in our bank account waiting to be disbursed. But now with this law, neither we can disburse, nor we can return it back. And utilizing 20 crores as an intermediary organization is also a huge challenge. So those kind of challenges will be there. So this is about the inter-charity donation, the first one. The second one is about reduction in time in the limit of administrative expenditure. Now here in the administrative expenditure, we will quickly look at what was there and what has been proposed. So earlier it used to be, the threshold used to be 50%, which means that if you receive 100, you could use almost 50 for administrative costs. Now that threshold has been reduced to 20%. And the above limit, earlier it used to be that the above limit can be increased with prior approval of the central government. So if you write to the central government and say that we want to, we need a permission to use more for administrative purposes, even beyond 50% was possible. In fact, that provision is still there, which means that if your admin costs go up more than 20%, you can take a prior approval from the FCR department and even spend more than 20%. Now, Rule 5 of the FCRA rules talk about what can be included in administrative expenses. And that has not been changed. So Rule 5 is very, very important. And this I want to dwell a bit on this, because this is going to be a major issue, and I'm sure that you will have a lot of questions around this issue. What is administrative and what is not? And that is very clear in Rule 5. Now, Rule 5 says the following. What is administrative expenditure? Please listen very carefully, because this is where many of your questions will be answered. The first thing that Rule 5 says is that salary, wages, travel, and remuneration of any members of the executive committee or governing council. So if your board members are involved in the organization, in running the organization, their salaries, their wages, their travel costs, their remuneration, all that will be covered as administrative expenditure. So you have to bundle it as administrative expenditure. The second, all expenditure towards hiring of personnel for management of the activities. So the management of the activities will be administration, not program. For example, a program manager who manages the program will be administrative expenditure. Thirdly, consumables like electricity, water, telephone, postal charges, etc. And all that for the organization, and will become administrative expenditure. Fourthly, cost of accounting and administrative for the administration of funds will be administrative expenditure. Cost of running and maintenance of vehicles will become administrative expenditure. Cost of writing reports and filing of reports, legal and professional fees, rent of premises, repairs and maintenance of premises, all these are administrative expenditure. So this is about 8 areas which are covered as administrative expenditure. However, there are three exceptions given. The first exception is if the organization is involved or engaged in training. Then the costs associated, the personnel costs and other administrative costs associated towards training can be program expenditure. Second is if your organization is involved in research, then any research, any administrative costs, including staff costs on research activity, will be covered as program. And thirdly, if your organization is a welfare organization, a welfare oriented organization, then any administrative costs such as salaries, if you are running a health clinic, the salary of the doctors of the health clinic, or if you are running a school, then the salary of the teachers, these will be program expenditure. So this is what Rule 5 says, and it's and we need to be very, very careful in terms of how we are able to categorize this kind of expenditures. Okay. So this point, what I am now showing is very important. This one, as the amount of administrative cost is reported through form number FC4, the annual return, we have to report the administrative cost. So we have to restructure our accounting. In fact, we have to restructure from budgeting till accounting and till reporting in order to maintain what kind of expenses we are charging as administrative costs, and accordingly it should be reported. So that's about administrative cost. Then let's move to public servants. Now public servants are debarred from receiving foreign contribution. Under FCRA, there are three categories. There's a prohibited category, there is a regulated category, there's a non-regulated category. Section 3 provides the list of persons who are prohibited to receive FC. There is a long list of people, judges and political parties, etc. And so they are debarred category. They cannot, they're prohibited category. And public servants, as defined under Rule 21 of Indian Penal Code, IPC Section 21, is included in this list. So therefore, the public servants, which includes 12 categories of individuals, they are an addition to the prohibited category. So therefore, they cannot receive any foreign contribution, being in the prohibited category. Now we come to the question of State Bank of India. Now, probably for the first time in any legislation, a specific bank and a specific branch has been mentioned. This was, to my understanding, nowhere in the law, any law, a particular branch and a bank has been mentioned before. Now there, in this amendment, State Bank of India, New Delhi has been mentioned. And so earlier, what used to happen is that the money used to come to a designated bank account, then we could transfer it to utilization bank account and spend. Now amendment says that the FCRA bank account has to be opened with the State Bank of India, New Delhi, and now yesterday night they have notified us Parliament Street branch of New Delhi branch, New Delhi State Bank of India as the nodal account. So all foreign contributions shall be received through this bank account. So the first amount, the fall of the all foreign contribution has to be in this particular bank account, and this needs to be opened in State Bank of India, Parliament Street branch. Then it could be transferred to any scheduled bank of your choice. to the existing designated bank account also. And further, you could also open more than one utilization bank account in any other scheduled bank and intimate the FCRA department and utilize. So right now there are two levels. One level was the designated bank account and then the utilization bank account. Now it has reached another level, which is at the level of, there are three levels now: State Bank of India, then designated bank account, then utilization bank account. So there are beyond two levels, it has now gone into three levels. Now critical issues are very important for us. The transition time has not yet been notified. So as of now, let me tell you very clearly, there are a number of people who are giving misleading information and also advising freely all over the place. Please understand this, that the Act has been enacted from 29 September 2020, which means the law is in force. How bad it is or how difficult it is, the law is in force, which says that you can only receive foreign contribution in the State Bank of India Parliament Street branch account. In other words, it means that if you receive in any other bank account, then it is a violation of the law. So please do not receive. If there are any clarifications coming in, if there's a window of transition time, those things might come. We are not sure yet, but there is some discussion going on that it might come. So long as it has not come, if you take money in your existing designated bank account, then you stand a risk of violation of FCRA. Now, one challenge that it comes is that whether FC from local sources should be deposited in SBI or not. For example, you have a FC asset, asset created out of foreign contribution, and you have some income out of it. Then where shall it be deposited? That's not clear yet. And whether the certified copy of SBI as well as the other designated bank account should be submitted with the FC4 and the annual return. That also we are not sure. Now, let's come to the inquiry at the time of renewal of FCRA. This is again a very difficult and challenging provision which has been inserted. A lot of people have not noticed it. Normally, under section 12, when you apply for FCRA, there is a provision of section 12, subsection 4, where it says that there will be an inquiry. A field inquiry will be conducted, and based on that field inquiry, your FCRA will be granted or rejected application. Now here, in case of renewal, this provision was not there. In case of renewal, it was the provision was that on the basis of the application submitted and being granted, and if there is no non-compliance, then it would have been, the application would have been processed. But in this amendment, the government says that they would also do a inquiry, field inquiry, which in other words means that it puts the existing registered organizations and the new applications under the same platform, in the same platform. So you don't enjoy a privilege for being an organization who already has FCRA and you have never failed in any compliance. So even if you are a compliant organization, you have filed all returns on time, there is no proceeding pending against you, yet the government would do a proper inquiry before giving renewal. We know that there are more than 20,000 organizations who would go into the renewal process in October 2021. So section 12(4), which is now inserted in the renewal process, it says that certain conditions and situations need to be checked before granting any permission. And it includes the identity of the person, whether fictitious or benami, nature of program, where conversion, proselytization, misuse is not there, has undertaken reasonable activity in its chosen field for the benefit of the society, and acceptance of foreign contribution is not likely to prejudicially affect nation and public interest. So these things will be checked before even the renewal is granted, which means that may result in delays because the government machinery takes its own time. So 6 months when we are applying for renewal, it may take more than 6 months for renewal. And all organizations have to really be careful and probably do a review of your compliances and see if there are any non-compliances, etc., to be prepared for renewal. Then it comes to Aadhaar of board members and copy of passport and OCI card. So here, now in this amendment, any person seeking for permission or registration or renewal has to provide Aadhaar card of the board members or office bearers or key functionaries, it says. So whoever has names have gone on as the key members of the society, their Aadhaar card has to be provided. Apart from, if you remember earlier, they have to all give a declaration, an affidavit. So that is anyway there, plus an Aadhaar card has to be given, or if it is a foreigner, then a copy of the passport has to be uploaded. Now, what is the implication? Implication is that now the department will be very easy to know if there are foreigners on the board. And with a click, they could know that you are in how many boards of NGOs. And that poses a big risk for people who have multiple roles in multiple boards or multiple organizations. And if the related party on the board, that also would be easy for people, for the government to track. So that is about Aadhaar. Now, prior permission. Earlier, in the prior permission, you can apply for a prior permission which was donor specific and amount specific. You would receive an approval that you can receive, let us say, $100,000 from a particular donor. And you can receive that and you can report. But there were no suspension provision in the prior permission. Now, there's been amendment, and this amendment says that even a prior permission application is can be suspended. Prior permission registration can be suspended, and on the basis of any information report and after holding a summary inquiry, and if the FCRA department has reasons to believe that a person who has been granted prior permission has contravened any of the provisions of this act, then the central government may direct that such person shall not utilize the unutilized FC or shall not receive foreign contribution which have not been received without prior approval. So a suspension like provision has already been enacted in the prior permission. Now what happens to regular registration is that under regular registration, suspense provision was already there. For 180 days, you could do a suspension. So now what the law says is that now in recent amendment, the 180 days has been extended to 360 days. Or in other words, it means that for 1 year, the organization can be suspended and the government can take its own time to conduct the inquiry and frame charges. So 180 days has now become 360 days. During this time, the law says that with prior permission, 25% of the foreign contribution lying in your bank account can be utilized. And that still continues. Department will get more time to investigate, program activities will suffer. And in our own experience, we have seen that many organizations who apply for it, that 25% may be allowed, have not received any response. So the bank account is frozen, and for 1 year, no activities may be possible. This will create a great hardship to those organizations whose registration is restored after completion of the suspension proceedings. So after suspension proceedings are completed, if the central government finds that there are no charges and restores the registration, by then 1 year would have passed and the organization would have been in tatters. Okay, this is another important provision, surrender. Now, if you have received your FCRA, but you don't intend to use it after some years, there was no provision, explicit provision in the Act to surrender the FCRA. However, in this amendment, section 14A has been inserted, enabling the NGOs to surrender the certificate of registration. And the section 14A states that the central government may permit any person to surrender the certificate after making such an inquiry as it deems fit. It is satisfied that such person has not contravened any provision of the Act. The management of foreign contribution asset, if any, created out of such contribution has been vested in the authority as provided in subsection 1 of section 15. This is very important, that if any organization chooses to surrender its FCRA, in effect what the government is saying is that you hand over all the assets created out of foreign contribution and any foreign contribution lying unutilized to a specified authority of the government. So you cannot hold assets created out of foreign contribution if you want to surrender the FCRA registration. So that is what are the 9 amendments. Now, this is at a glance amendment made. There are 3 specific areas. One is discouraging soliciting foreign contribution. So government wants to discourage the foreign contribution. Therefore, it has prohibited inter-charity donations from existing FC funds. It has reduced the limit of administrative expenditure and debarred public servants from receiving foreign contribution. The second limb is which will lead to more control. FCRA has to be received in one bank account, which is in State Bank of India, inquiry at the time of renewal, and Aadhaar card of the board members. These will lead to more control. And the third limb is about providing stricter penal provisions. That would mean that the suspension-like provision for prior permission is there, extending the suspension period is there, and surrender of FCRA registration where the assets would vest with the government. So these are the overview of the FCRA 2020 amendments. And now I've come to the end of my presentation, and we can now take up questions and answers. Thank you very much for your attention. Now we'll take up questions. Myself and my colleague, Mr. Puran Jha, will be taking questions now.
Thank you.